Do you ever wonder why you're doing what you do in life? Do you wish that you could be really happy and passionate about what you do? Or maybe you already are and you want to expand in a different direction. Hi, I'm Barbara Ann, host of What the Why? I love what I do. A lot of that has to do with my story, my journey to this point in life. And guess what? Everybody has a story. So please join me for conversations with leaders from all walks of life about what they do, and more importantly, why they do it, how they found their core purpose, their passion, their mission in life. And if you're looking for your own, maybe you'll get some great suggestions on how you too can find your why. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of What the Why. If you haven't seen us before, our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured out this is their purpose. If you've seen us before, you know we always ask the question, are you sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, or do you feel stuck and you want to get unstuck, whether that is in your job, your career, your company, or maybe even in your relationship or life? Pretty much all of our guests have something in common with you. At some point, they went through some kind of pivot to undo something in their lives and figure out what their purpose is. And today's guest is definitely no exception to that. What he is actually exceptional, and you're going to find out why. I'm really excited to have Tito, and I want to make sure I get your last name right. It's Guerrero?
Yep.
All right. So, after 12 years of incarceration, and I want to emphasize this because I had another guest. Those of you who've been watching with us a long time might remember Jan from Philadelphia. Well, after 12 years of incarceration, Tito was released from prison into a recession. He had a plan, he had grit, and he wanted to find his purpose. And this is not exactly an easy thing for someone who's a reentry citizen to do. And while navigating life, he still rebuilt himself. He found that his purpose was to help others, to lead by example, to be a guiding light to those who are still in the dark. And over the last 17 years, Tito has completed his Bachelor of Science and MBA degrees. He's bought and sold houses. He's worked his way up from an entry-level position to a senior executive. He's married and has a daughter. He's moved across 4 states for work. He opened a transitional living house as part of his many efforts to give back and has a consulting business. We're talking serial entrepreneur here with a lot of really great life experience and wisdom to share. And so please, without further ado, join me in welcoming Tito Guerrero to our show. So welcome. Yay! Welcome, welcome, welcome. So super excited to have you have a definite passion for the population that really you are exemplary of what's possible. And of course, as we ask all of our guests at the beginning, this probably isn't a journey that you thought you would have been on as a child. So, what did little Tito want to be when he was little and when he was first growing up?
Well, ironically, and this is something I think we share in common, I wanted to be something I couldn't be, and I knew it, which was I wanted to be a Jedi, which wasn't possible. So as I got a little bit older and kind of defined what I wanted to do, I actually wanted to be an architect.
Mm.
That's what I really wanted to be. And I think it really was about taking a space and making it your own and letting your creativity flow, or taking a space that someone else might have and they want it to look different, and you can take their dream and make it a reality. And it was really something I was passionate about, and I just knew I was going to be an architect.
Awesome. And in some ways, one would say you are an architect of human transformation now. So, how did you get from that Jedi slash wannabe architect to the work that you do across multiple spectrums, um, helping people in so many different ways?
Yeah, so a very long journey. And I'll say I actually went down the architect road for a little while. The high school I went to had a mechanical drawing course that if you finished 2 years, it actually turned into an architecture course, but you had to do the first 2 years. So I signed up as a freshman and I actually drew two houses from the ground up, perspectives and everything. And I was so gung-ho, this is my passion. I even did some work for some real architects and they would put their stamp on it and I get my little $50. I was in the zone. When I signed up for a junior college, they bumped me up a semester because of what I did in high school. And the first class I took was very specific, like it has to be this size, it has to look like this. Everyone drew the same house. And I was like, no, this is not being creative. And I literally dropped out and never looked back. I was like, I'm not doing that. Um, I still like the creativity side of it. So, needless to say, how did I get to where I'm at? It was a lot of not understanding what I was going through to become the person that I really need to be. And that was, I grew up son of an immigrant entrepreneur who had an automotive machine shop. He put me to work at the age of 8. Yeah, wasn't very fair to me, but I loved to death all the things I learned. But growing up in that environment, I found out like when you make decisions in business, like you're either steak on the table or beans and rice on the table. So you got to make the right decisions and you got to take care of your team that works for you because they're the ones that do the work. And so going through all that, by the age of 24, I was in and out of trying different things out in school and college. I was working. I ended up getting into UC Berkeley. I dropped out because it was just too much when I first got in. My dad threw me a lifeline, said, "Hey, come back and run the shop for me." So I came back, started hanging around a bunch of knuckleheads, and I ended up in prison. Um, very long story short is playing with guns and involved with drugs and all kinds of other stuff. I ended up taking my best friend's life, age of 24, and I went in for murder. I ended up getting convicted of second degree murder with a 15 to life sentence. I pretty much chalked up that my life was done. I'm never going home. And that was just it. And I said, I'm going to make the best out of this prison thing. When I got to prison, I was learning the ropes. I was happy I was somewhere where I could kind of have some kind of a program. And then I ended up getting my sentence overturned. And by nothing I did. I mean, the moons were in alignment. I got assigned an attorney who was really good, and he got me off. And I took a plea agreement for involuntary manslaughter, 14 years. So at this time, I had 5 years in. So now I have 7 years to go. And I really was in there drinking the prison wine and hanging out with people. And I was very good at sales and things of that nature. So I had a very good mouthpiece. So I was getting cell phones in back before everyone else did. And I had DVD players and everything else. I was living decent in prison, as decent as you could be. But I got to a point where I said, I'm probably am going to get out. I need to focus on changing. So I signed up for every self-help group. I didn't care what religion it was, what I just signed me up. I got into a vocational class. I got certified as an optician, contact lens examiner, like so many different things. And I started writing people outside like Walmart, like, can I get a job if I get out? Like, please help me. And people were writing back, hey, come see us. We love all your credentials. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to set this up. So 2 years before I paroled, I started working out really hard because I was very big. And I just started back up into school and started doing everything I could because I wanted to develop the callus of a mindset that like I have to win. I don't care what it was. And so I did that in prison really the last year, like super hardcore, from positive affirmations to I had a budget, a plan. I still have it in a folder somewhere. Like I typed it up and brought it out with me and everything. I had all these plans. And then I get out 2009 at the age of 36 and it's a recession. So my plan and Walmart and Costco and all these other places, like they're like, we just laid people off.
Yeah.
So if we hire anyone, we're hiring our people back. And I was like, totally understand. And I kept applying places. I did my backup plan, which was I signed up for school. So I'm going to school and I ended up finally swallowing my pride because someone actually called me and told me like, we ran your background. We don't the doctors here don't want a convicted felon in here and everything else. And I was like, thank you. You know what? People keep telling me to go to Goodwill, which I ended up doing. Swallow my pride. I didn't want to work there, but I swallowed my pride and went. And I'll never forget, someone yelled at me about something. And when they explained why they were yelling at me, they were like, look, I don't know what Goodwill's done for you, but they've helped me get off parole and off probation. And when I heard the whole story, I couldn't help but think, I'm over here hating this job, but it's helping other people like me. I just haven't been looking at them that way.
Mhm.
And so I went all in. I was like, okay, I want to make this a career. I'm a truck driver. I'm nobody. I'm minimum wage, but I want to figure it out because I want to help. I want to tell that story to someone, you know? And yeah, 13 years of Goodwills, three different Goodwills. I went from truck driver to an executive role. And I really started learning like, is so much more fulfilling when you're doing something for others, right? And yes, every once in a while you get the recognition, the pat on the back. That's great. But I find that people that are really serious, like me, like I get fulfilled being able to go, did you see what she did? Did you see what he did? And they're going, oh, but it's because of you. And I'm like, you did the work.
Yeah.
I just pointed you in the right direction. And I was very blessed in my Goodwill career to have some really great people over me that saw potential in me and would push me to do things. And then, I mean, I was lucky. You talk about I opened a transitional house. So after I made it to like the senior director level and I was going into San Quentin and speaking and trying to encourage people and give them a path, I was writing letters, helping lifers get out that I knew were on that right path. Um, but one of the main things was people were getting out and they would go into these programs for these for-profits and they would be so restrictive. I mean, they were setting them up to go back.
Yep.
So I said, you know what? I can't do much, but let me see if I can rent a house and throw some bunk beds, get them internet. And I mean, I literally just found some old pictures of like the resource binder I put together for the house. Like, here's where you can go get services. And like, I had set up with one of the local grocery stores. I was like, hey, before you throw your stuff away, can you drop it off at the house? So they would always have bread and milk and all this other stuff. But yeah, like paying that forward is so important to me because I just feel lucky. And I've talked to a number of people about this when people ask me what I feel like redemption is, and I'm like, it's a journey. There's no end. Because no matter how good you do, like, do you actually make it there? I don't know. So for me, it's like I'm constantly recycling and going, how do I make it better? And I think that's how I ended up. Long answer to your question. That's how I ended up in operations and serving people. Operations, because I grew up in a business, I have two business degrees. It's a passion of mine to see things get better. But for me, I love doing it in nonprofit because in nonprofit, now I'm doing it for a mission. I'm doing it for a cause. I'm doing it for the community. I'm doing it for the people and I can see that. And when someone tells me a story and they're like, "Oh man, your agency helped me," and I'm like, "You just made my week, my month. Like that's awesome. Thank you." And tell a friend. So yeah, I'm just all about how do we help people? How do we make our communities better and stronger and love one another? I mean, it's one action at a time. So
And there's so many things about all of that that are just beautiful, amazing, wonderful, redemptive, transformational. Quick shout out, Goodwill, big supporter. Have been donating and purchasing for decades.
yeah,
The couch in my office right there, Goodwill. And it was on
that's
one of
right.
those days where the sticker price was like half
Half off or
price.
whatever.
Yeah. So I got a beautiful custom-made couch. It was absolutely awesome. And right before I went away this past weekend, I had boxes of stuff. 26 bags slash
Oh
boxes
wow.
of stuff over to our Goodwill. Everything from toys and tech to clothes that are too big for me now, you name it. And I know that the people that are there and are what you described, the person who inspired you.
Yeah.
There's one woman every time I am there, she's like, "Oh, you're back." I'm like, "Yep, it's Sunday," and on Sunday, certain colors. our, one week it's $2,
Hmm.
$3, the next weekend it's $2, and so like we actually know each other, and I'll go in with my daughter-in-law, and I've run into other people I know, and once upon a time people would be like, "Where did you get that?" And you'd say Goodwill, and they go, "Huh?"
Hmm.
And now, when you recognize the need for sustainability, the need for helping others and repurposing and everything else, I have no problem. Somebody asked me, "Where'd you get this jacket?" I won't name the brand, but I was like, they were very impressed with this brand. And I said, I got it at Goodwill. They're like, "You're kidding." I was like, "Nope. In fact, I'm pretty sure I got it for like $3 on a cent." And they were like, "Seriously?" I said, "Yeah, and I will tell you, I actually got it's a Gucci suit,
Mm.
a full suit, also on a Sunday. It had the original tags on it.
Mm.
At the time, a lot of people don't realize, I want to get back to you, but a lot of people don't realize a lot of the stores, when they have that one-off item that they just can't even get rid of on clearance, they'll write it off, and indeed, like my future daughter-in-law worked at Burlington. When they couldn't sell stuff at Burlington
It
Coat
goes.
Factory, they sent it to Goodwill. And so I have stuff that
Hmm.
I've gotten at Goodwill that has the original tags on it, either because somebody hoarded it and then dumped it,
Yeah,
or it came from a store where they couldn't sell it, and I'm like, that's my form of hunting. Like, mm,
100%.
if I can get it repurposed, if I can get it, absolutely. So, love what Goodwill does. Love that you found purpose, and that they got you in the process. So, um, let's talk about what you do. Because like you said, the house, which is practical, I fully agree with you about some of the challenges around some of those programs. Um, you know, but you're speaking, you know, you're a senior executive. Um, you got married, you had a daughter.
Mhm. Yes.
And I know even when we talked, and I want to be very clear here, you take full responsibility for what you did. And I applaud that. I recognize that we're all human. And I also, again, want to emphasize, I'm sorry for your loss, because I, the way you frame it, and knowing more about your story, that wasn't something you intended to do. And so there's an element of that I can tell you're still new even now. But what a tribute to your friend's life in terms of all the other people that you've been able to help along the way because of that one choice that turned into all these other positive choices. So let's talk about the fact that you are a guiding light to those who are out there in the dark. Um, this takes courage. You know, no one can judge us better than ourselves, but having these conversations still
100%.
opens us up to judge
Yes.
of others, from others, and of our circumstances. So, how do you find the courage to keep going when so many people who, the minute they hear, and even if we change the language, even if they hear reentry citizen or ex-offender or formerly incarcerated, they develop an opinion.
100%.
And so, how do you find the courage to not let that prevent you from moving forward?
You just so my consulting business, which has always been off and on, I called it four word consulting, play on words, literally, and it's no excuses, only solutions. Um, I kind of built that up because while I was in prison getting ready to get out, I realize, and this is reflection, I jokingly say everyone should go to prison for 30 days, even if it's metaphorically, like disconnect from everything, lock yourself in a room and sit with yourself and stop lying to everyone else, including yourself, right? But in that, I I came to grips with a lot of the bad choices, some of the good ones too, were peer pressure. I just listened to other people, and then whatever they said, if they said that's stupid or that's great, yeah, because I want to be part of the crew. I want to, fit in, whatever. So when it came to, having courage, I just had to sit and go, this is what I'm standing on. And I don't care how big you are. You're not going to knock me off my podium. I'm going to stand on this. And in that, I told myself, no one, I don't care if they're friend, family, boss, professor, no one's going to tell me what I can and can't do. And so when people would say, oh, you're an offender, and I go, but until you heard that, we were having a great conversation. I would have never thought that was you. It's not anymore. Like, but you don't have any tattoos. Yeah, I made a choice. But if I had them, you still wouldn't have known. Everyone has tattoos now. And I try to paint that picture and go, yeah, did you like my speech? Did you like the work I did? Yeah, everyone has a story. I'm just vocal about mine. Most people will hide what they don't want you to know. I don't mind. And that would always get us to a point where it's like, okay, well, let's talk more. And yeah, if 1 out of 20 goes, I still don't want to associate with you, I go, you beat me to the punch. I don't want to associate with you.
Mhm.
It's not my loss.
Yeah.
I don't need to be around people like that because you're not open-minded. And then when I go into whether it's mentoring, coaching, consulting, I go, I don't want to work with people that close off because someone's background, someone's culture, someone's traditions. So yeah, I'm like, no, perfectly fine. Hey, when you get a growth mindset, let's talk. You're
Yes.
not there. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And I serve on the board of an organization whose CEO did time. Shouldn't have, did. A former relationship with another organization in Texas, CEO, also did time. Probably shouldn't have, but did. And have actually been part of pitch competitions for reentry citizens who are
Nice.
pursuing entrepreneurship because sometimes that is the only route they can go because people aren't growth oriented, open-minded, and can't see past it. And they're brilliant people who are so
Yeah.
grateful for the opportunity.
Yes.
So grateful and so smart. And like one of the companies, and I don't want to talk about them without permission, but he was making clothing with artwork from some of the people who were still on the inside and putting the
Mm,
money aside for when they got out
nice. Very nice.
so that they would have additional resources. And as someone who used to work for a housing nonprofit up the street from a prison in Trenton, they would come in with their $750 that they were get back in, we're talking about, 2000, 2002 time frame, and they would come in looking for housing,
Hmm.
not knowing whether or not we were going to greet them
Right.
because it was obvious they walked. They literally would walk up the highway to this housing resource center that would, and now what do I do? I've got,
Hmm. Oh
got
yeah.
whatever little cash I was allowed to save up, my stipend, and I need housing. And back then, if you had family that was in any kind of state or federal sponsored housing, you couldn't go there or they would get kicked out. That did at least change under the Obama administration. But back
Yes.
then, you had no, where were you to go?
Oh yeah.
If you went to your mom's or your grandmom's or your dad's or your uncle's and they found out that you were there and you had a record, that was it. Didn't matter what it was for. And
Yes.
so we were oftentimes that first interaction with someone who just got out. And how we
Yeah.
treated them set the pace for everything that would transpire next. And we did not take that responsibility lightly. Shout out to Donna and Paquita, who were with me at the time in that journey, and the board that had the foresight to recognize there was a need for something that big. And so again, I want to call it the importance of this transitional living house that you did because some of it is so incredibly structured that no one can succeed. And I have a friend of a friend right now who it's like if they even so much as look the wrong way, they're out.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, where's the ladder rung that you can step down to? Now what?
Yeah. Yeah. And it was funny because I was going into the big for-profit, I won't name names either, but I was going in speaking and actually teaching classes, and they allowed me because I did it for free. To them, it was like, hey, you're taking custody of everyone for an hour, like have at it. And then later on, someone else who was going in the program, that's when I started my consulting business. They were like, all these places have budgets for that. Charge them. Throw together an LLC and charge them. And I'm like, but I'm doing it because I love it. And they're like, so can you get paid and love it? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, sure. And that's where the consulting business came from because I was like, okay, like, sure. If they got money, if they don't, I'm still going to do it because and ironically, like half the guys in the programs, like I was locked up with. So it was like a little family reunion anyway. But I was literally like, look, this is what you need to do. And when I saw, to your point, all those restrictions and what you brought up about not being able to live with another felon, the ironic thing was everyone complained because they're like, oh, so I can't go live with my cousin at my mom's house, but I can be in here with all felons.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they get the money for it. But my
Yes.
aunt wouldn't get anything and I'd
Yeah.
get violated.
Yes.
The hypocrisy. But anyway.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I want to touch on because you also said something very important there. And this applies broadly. A lot of people, especially when it's consulting or coaching or related or training, because they love what they do, they don't always get compensated
Yes.
the way they should. And so kudos to the person who said that to you. Uh, you should be because you should be. They do have budgets for that. But even that took courage.
Oh yeah.
What if they had said no? So how did you finally get up the courage to say, you know what? I am gonna put together a
I,
proposal.
Well, I kind of utilized that place and said, "Hey, can you write a letter saying thank you for the classes I put together?" So they're like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Okay, here's my testimonial, so I know what I'm doing. I'm speaking from lived experience, not, I'm just someone on the streets trying to make a buck on it, and my heart is in this." And so then when I started going to other locations, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, we got 5,000 here, we got 6,000 there, sure." How give me 300 for a class and I'll show up. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I don't need a ton of money. That was in the beginning. And then it
Uh-huh.
was like, no, you're going to pay me to develop and come facilitate. But yeah, and it was great. And then I started getting more connections, and that's how I started going into San Quentin and speaking. And that was probably one of the most surreal moments I've had since getting out is walking back in dressed like this and going like, oh my God, it's my first time. And like I know the lay of the land. And I'll never forget we walked in and there's a guard with us, escorting us to where we were going to do this training. And someone yelled my name and a lifer I was in when I first got locked up. And I was like, hey, can I say hi? The officer was like, yeah, man, go ahead. Because he knew I had been in there, right? And so I was like, can I hug him? He's like, yeah. So I'm hugging him, and like everyone's looking at me like, what? And I'm like, I was in here with him. Like this is crazy. And yeah, then I'll never forget why we did that training kind of off subject. But like, even though I had been out for I think 3 years, 3.5 years at the time, like I went to go use the restroom where the inmates go, and the guard had to come tell me and go, "Hey, I'll let you in our bathroom." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, right, okay." And he's old habits, and I'm like, "Yeah," like I'm
Yeah.
just like I
You did
this
what you
is
knew.
this is a bathroom, yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was just that's one of those things where it felt like a serious milestone. And then I just kept encouraging people. I'm like, just like I'm in here talking to you guys today, this could be you in a year, 2 years, 5 years from now. And I encourage you to do it. Don't just say that you're gonna give back. Like show up. I went to visit my old cellmate as soon as I got cleared to go in a visiting room. And I'll never forget this guy that was in there with the whole 10 years I was at that prison. He came up to me and he goes, "Hey, man, good for you." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "You told everyone you would come back and visit Johnny when you were able." He goes, "I've been in here 20 years. I've heard that so many times and never seen anyone come back. Here you are." Literally had me crying in the visit room. He's all, "We need more people like you getting out." And I'm like, he's out now, so I'm glad he's out. But it's
Yeah.
like one of those things where you're like, but ironically, that's all we learn inside, be a man of your word and all this stuff. I'm like, I said I was going to do it. If I could do it, I'm gonna do it. So, but I think that's also the whole be the change thing, right?
Yeah.
It's why I kind of came up with that, not because of prison necessarily, but it's like if you don't like something, what are you doing about it? You don't have to change the world, but you have control over what you do. And for me, it really started working up that corporate ladder and having the bad bosses here and there or knowing about bad supervisor stuff. And then I'm in that role. And I'm like, well, I got to be the change. I got to be the better one. And to this day, like I have people, I'm a senior vice president of operations right now. And I have people go, man, I love that you're just open and will come and listen and talk and explain things. And I'm like, it's because that's what Tito the truck driver would have wanted. So yes, as long as I have time, I will come down and we can talk about anything. And to the point of I can be transparent, I will be. Sometimes a little too much. But yes, like I want people to understand why we're making decisions that we are. And I just met with my boss, who's the CEO, this morning, and when I check in with her, I don't have a problem going, I disagree with the way we're doing this. And I love that we can have those conversations and kind of duke it out when we have to, and then we come up with a resolution that we all can agree with. And I think that's also great because all nonprofits don't function like nonprofits. I've worked at a few where it's like we're not, one of these big Fortune 500 companies, cut the workforce, raise the profits and everything else. Like we can do really good and still care about people. Anyway, I'll get off my
Absolutely.
soapbox.
No, but you're right. You're absolutely right. And I think that the current climate is such that a lot of organizations are really stopping and asking themselves, what are we here for?
Yeah,
If not for now, then when? Like, you know, we're at a very important crossroads.
yeah,
That can, it's only at the precipice that we find the will to change. And so,
100%.
even work that I do, I asked I will lately refer to him as my day job boss. And I said, are you going to this? And he said, we're prioritizing where we spend our funds. He said, right now that does not involve traveling to these major events. We want to make sure we have the money to deliver the services for the people that we promised to
Mm.
in our mission to support. And I was like, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
make the
And
hard call.
it does. So as we wind down, there's a variety of people. Some are actually in that industry right now, and some either can relate with your story, aspects of your story, maybe want to do what you've done, but don't believe it's possible, or because after you've been had the door slammed in your face enough times, sometimes it's really hard to try and open another door. And so, I guess let's talk to that group.
Yeah.
For those who, in whatever way, shape, or form, their past has caused the door to be shut in their face, um, which, from a faith perspective, for me, is abysmal because the person that I believe in hung with those people, recruited those people, and accepted those people. And
Yeah.
so, to all of you out there who feel like you've been let down, the doors have been slammed in your face, life has affected you in ways that you feel like you can't overcome, you know, what are one or two things that you would suggest or suggest to them or advise them in terms of what's possible?
Um, quite frankly, everything is possible. You will be your biggest obstacle to whatever success you think you can achieve. You will get in your way more than anyone else. So start being your own biggest cheerleader because there's going to be people that are slamming those doors. They're going to be tearing those doors down. They're going to be boarding them up. They're going to be doing everything. You just have to keep going at it. And I'm telling you right now, it is worth it, but it is pain and struggle. Here's your comfort zone. Work your way out of it. And I'm here to tell you this, someone who's been through so much adversity, not just the prison side. I mean, since getting out to get to where I'm at, to be at a place where and not to say that I'm rich or anything. Grocery prices go up. I don't sit here and stress about it. I'm okay. I think about other people and how I can help them. This is my thing though. After you break through that comfort zone, don't go, I won, and go back into it. Eventually, you create a new comfort zone. It's bigger now. And then I'm here to tell you, break through that one. And before you know it, you'll have all the awesome things that you want, whether it's money, whether it's the house, whether it's an education, whether it's a family, whether it's just peace of mind where you can go to sleep at night and actually sleep through the night. You can get there, but it's grit, it's going through the grime, and it's not letting anyone tell you what you can and can't do, especially you.
Thank you so much for being a guest. Love to have you back at some point. I knew that this was going to be a really important and powerful conversation, and it did not disappoint. So thank you for your time. And for people who want to connect with you, your information is going to be in the comments below the audio or video, wherever our viewers or listeners are accessing this recording. What's the best way for them to reach you? Right.
Best way, something that I'm always checking is my LinkedIn, Tito Guerrero LinkedIn. But definitely you can email at Coach Tito G, that's Coach TITOG at Gmail. My website's in the process being built, so TitoGuerrero.com, that'll be another one. And Tito Guerrero speaking on Facebook. So any and all. And I love to hear from anyone and collaborate and anything that's positive and helping others, sign me up.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for being here. And to our audience, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're new or whether you've been with us since the very first episode, you have so many viewing and listening choices out there. And we really truly appreciate that you chose to invest your time with us. And if you're benefiting from this in any way or know someone who can, please share our podcast with them. And also, as you just heard, please always remember, no matter what change you're looking to make in your life, big or small, you can tune in here again for more fascinating, inspirational, and illuminating conversations with guests like Tito, who had every reason to give up, but instead chose a different path, found his purpose, and lived it.